Hi everyone, welcome to weekly tips series of SHIFTLog, where we share tips and tricks and features about latest EAM products and help to improve your knowledge on SAP products. Now the aim is to keep this under 5 minutes, as you mentioned, so that you can enjoy it while sipping a coffee. Today is tip number 2, episode number 2, where we'll continue to talk about asset performance management and criticality assessment. Now in tip number 1, we talked about how criticality assessments are performed and how APM as a product supports that. And today we'll be delving a little bit more into criticality assessment and talk about the templates and the main components of template. With that out of the way, let's look into the system and see what we can learn today. What you're looking at is Asset Performance Management home screen. If you recall from tip number 1, we looked into Asset Data and Information Management. That is the first 2 apps in the screen. But today we are going to go into Asset Risk Assessment, which is the second part of the screen. If I click Manage Templates for Risk and Criticality Assessments, I'm taken to a screen which lists all the criticality and risk and criticality templates defined for the organization. Now, there are a number of different reasons why you need to have different types of templates for the same organization. One being different types of equipment. So you group the equipment based on its function, and the criticality assessment templates are set up based on that. I'm going to click the very first one, which is the one which we have seen in episode number 1 as well. So in the main screen, you'd see its name, administrative information like when it has been created and by whom. But if I click on impact, I see all the dimensions, what are called dimensions in the system. Now, if you recall from tip number 1, there were 2 dimensions in the matrix. One was the consequence, the next one was the likelihood. And this is where all that is defined. If I click edit button over here, you see that it gives me the chance to define as many entries under consequence and chance to alter the values as well. Same goes for likelihood as well. If I press threshold, this is where the thresholds are defined. Now you see that there are threshold values 20 to 29, 29 to 40. This comes by adding these values over here. So if you select, for example, criticality 50 and likelihood 50, that gives me hundreds. The maximum here is set to, because that's the maximum it could define. But that's not the only way of doing that. You can multiply value and use a combination. There are a number of different rules that you can set here to define that. I'm going to click edit over here because it helps me to explain better. These thresholds are defined based on the value range that you choose to, and the colors are associated. Well, you can choose your own colors as well, and each one is mapped to a criticality. If I go into the list, I'm sure you will figure this out, that these are the ABC indicators for the technical objects or function locations and equipments coming from ECC or S4. Once a criticality assessment has been performed based on the criticality threshold, the ABC indicator is determined and automatically goes and updates SAP ERP, that is ECC or S4. So single source of truth. And then also every group can be associated with an action. Now the low critical equipment has been mapped to run to fail, which is a common strategy in maintenance world. At the same time, if you look at the safety critical equipment in this case are mapped to RCMs, and the production high is mapped to FEMIA, failure mode and effect analysis. This determines the next course of action, what the reliability engineer has to carry out as a procedure if a failure takes place. And then these could lead to a number of different things. For example, a FEMIA could recommend a strategy change for this particular equipment to make sure you mitigate the risk of that failing in the future. Hope it's clear to you now how the criticality assessment templates has been formed and the various parts of it and how it contributes to criticality assessment performed on equipments. With that, I'm going to wrap up the session today, everyone. Hope it has been helpful. If you have any comments, questions, please send them in. We will see how best we can answer them. And in the next episodes, we'll delve a little bit more into the reliability engineering and the predictive maintenance related aspects on asset performance management. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.